Hello and how you doing, and welcome back to Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Carnes, joined here with...
Lucas Kins.
Also joined here with...
Jumbo Carnes.
And welcome back to Two Jagoffs, and today we are actually going to be the Three Jagoffs, and we're going to go through and cover all of the news that is going on in the NFL world. Gentlemen, I'm glad to be joined with both of you here today, and my, oh my, it has been a crazy week in terms of NFL football. Before we get started with that, I do want to start off with a couple of quick announcements. My interview with my man Kevin Homa is out now on all platforms. It came out this past Sunday. He's actually going to be joining me on the radio show later today. That, of course, being the Austin Carnes Show. So if you want to hear more of Kevin, make sure you tune into that. We also have a brand new interview this upcoming Sunday with a first-time ever guest here on Two Jagoffs. The only hint that I'm going to give is, let's just say he's a big part of the University of Pitt. So any Pitt fans out there, definitely tune in this Sunday. You're not going to want to miss it. With that all being said, Dad, this is your first time on in a couple of weeks. How's things been treating you ever since you've been on last?
We're over the Super Bowl loss, so everything's good on my way. Getting ready for the upcoming football season.
Absolutely, and there's so much to talk about, which we will get to in a second. Lucas, of course, you're the other Jagoff as well. You've been helping me out a lot recently here on the podcast. Lucas Carries, how about that last week? You took over Two Jagoffs. How's things been treating you ever since last week?
Pretty good. And, I had to lower my ego coming back to your side of the podcast now, but
oh my goodness.
That was fun, though. That was fun.
It was fun. It was a really good episode. Did really well.
We got a new star on our team, though. That trade on Tuesday that happened for us.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that, Dad? The big trade that happened with Two Jagoffs?
Yeah, somebody sent me a Instagram message. I'm not going to leave the name out, but it said, "Are you going to root for Justin Watson, South Fayette represent?" And I believe my response was, "I'm going to root for J. Watt, South Fayette represent, not that team that he's on."
Well, yeah, that actually is our first piece of news I guess we could report on. Justin Watson, former Kansas City Chiefs and South Fayette Lion wide receiver, is now part of the Houston Texans. So shout out to our man, Justin Watson. I want to start off talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, though, gentlemen. A lot of news regarding them, and I want to talk about the two biggest pieces of news. One of them, of course, being Justin Fields. The quarterback that we all thought was going to be the franchise guy going forward here in Pittsburgh is now signing a 2-year deal with the New York Jets. Bigger news, though, revolving Pittsburgh. They got a wide receiver. They were trading for wide receiver DK Metcalf. He, of course, was the former wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks. The Steelers are trading away a second-round pick and are doing a late-round pick swap to get Metcalf, who will sign a 4-year deal worth $132 million as he inks pen to paper with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dad, I'm going to go over to you on this one first. A couple of other moves the Steelers have made as well. Kenneth Gainwell on a 1-year deal, Donald Parham, Malik Harrison, Brandon Eccles, Darius Slay. With all these moves being made right now by Pittsburgh, and with Pittsburgh still trying to figure out their quarterback situation, do you feel like they're in a better situation than they were last year, or are they in a much worse situation?
They're in a worse. Listen, the moment that they sat Justin Fields and started Russell Wilson, that was his ticket out of here. I don't think people in Pittsburgh realize that. Everybody thought he was going to be a franchise quarterback here in Pittsburgh. He was not going to be. They wanted Russell Wilson as a starter. He was buddies with Tomlin. Tomlin wanted him to be the starter. Well, guess what? Guess who else is on a plane out of here right now? He's in Cleveland right now checking out their facilities. They're going to be looking for a quarterback. That's who they're looking for. I think they're down to their third string that they have as in somebody that's actually signed on the Steelers roster, if I believe correctly, right? Skylar Thompson?
Skylar Thompson is the only quarterback.
So my thing is, who do you go after? Aaron Rodgers. He wants $40 million. $40 million. So let you know, he's 42. You're going to be 41 years old this year, I think. That's pretty old. So they kind of sold the farm. I mean, it was a great sign with DK Metcalf. Great sign, but who's throwing the ball?
Absolutely. Lucas, going to go over to you on this one next. Me and you have both been very vocal about the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's your opinion on all this?
I liked all the trades that happened until we got rid of Fields, because that was a terrible move. I mean, we don't have another quarterback, and any quarterback we get now is probably going to be more expensive than Fields. So we should have just kept him around and seen what he could do for us.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is where I'm kind of drawing the line at. The Pittsburgh Steelers should have, in my opinion, rolled with Russell Wilson for another year, and here's why. Are we going to forget that Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf had one of the most explosive quarterback-wide receiver duos in the league at one point in time when they both were a part of the Seattle Seahawks? I believe they completely strained their relationship with Russell Wilson, with them looking at Aaron Rodgers and them negotiating with all these other quarterbacks. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a perfectly good relationship. It seemed like Russell Wilson wanted to stay a Pittsburgh Steeler. It seemed like Russell Wilson wanted to be a part of the Steelers organization, the Steelers culture, the Steelers way. But with them looking at Rodgers so in depth, with them looking around the league at other quarterbacks, with them trying to make the push for Daniel Jones before he signed with the Indianapolis Colts and other quarterbacks out there, it's given Russell Wilson the opportunity to now interview with teams like the Browns, teams like the Giants, and for him to go out there and try and get paid, which he so well deserves in my opinion. Russell Wilson is honestly one or two more good seasons away from being a Canton, Ohio. He's a former Super Bowl champion, should have been an MVP in my eyes, and the fact of the matter is this, the Pittsburgh Steelers just completely threw that relationship out the window. Completely out the window. Russell Wilson is a guy that's not going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to the promised land, but he's most certainly going to be better than options they've had over the last couple years. Do we need to remind us about the Ben Roethlisbergers at the end of the day, whenever he could barely walk or barely run the football? What about Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky? These were quarterbacks that we were looking at in the Pittsburgh Steelers uniform as the starting quarterback who was begging to get the job done, but ultimately could not do so. Look, the moves are great. DK Metcalf is awesome, but what's DK Metcalf really going to solve here without a quarterback, like you guys mentioned? DK Metcalf and George Pickens, congratulations, you got two great receivers that can run straight. Who's throwing them the football? It's not Russell Wilson. It's not going to be Aaron Rodgers if you don't want to cough up the money for it. I mean, could you just imagine that locker room with Metcalf, Pickens, and Rodgers? Is Tomlin even going to be able to keep that under control? That's a question we have to start asking. What about the running game? Did we forget that Najee Harris is now an LA Charger? What about Jaylen Warren being the only starting running back on this team? Kenneth Gainwell was their option to replace Najee Harris. Kenneth Gainwell. That's who they brought in. I'm not going to lie. Some of these moves are great. I love seeing Eccles and Slay there improving that secondary. Malik Harrison, he was a former Raven. He's going to be paired with Patrick Queen. I like that Raven connection they have with their linebacker core. Donald Parham, I've always been a fan of his ever since he was in the XFL with the DC Defenders. He did great in LA with the Chargers. Now he's on a one-year deal. Love how he's joining that room with Darnell Washington and Freiermuth to keep the level of competition the same. But overall, outside of those moves, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not going to do anything without a quarterback. And this all falls back on coaching again at the end of the day. When is Mike Tomlin going to take this team past the first round? Congratulations. Winning seasons are awesome. You've done it for nearly 2 decades. But getting past the first round and making an actual push in the playoff is what Steelers fans want to see. And you cannot do that without a quarterback.
What was he going to make this year?
Who?
Russell Wilson. Because if you remember, when he got traded from Denver, to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh picked him up for $1.2 million.
It was $1.2 million.
But Denver was on the hook
yes.
for the $160 plus the $50 million signing bonus because it was somewhere in the ballpark of 240, 250.
No, I'll cut you off. Here's Russell Wilson signed with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh only paid $1.2 million, and then they paid $38.8.
But what I'm saying is, Denver signed a $245 million contract with him. 161 was guaranteed, $50 million signing bonus, and the rest of the money there. So he was on the hook for $38 million when he came to Pittsburgh from Denver. So, hypothetically speaking, with the numbers that he put up this year in Pittsburgh, he's looking somewhere in the ballpark of say 30 to 45 million for 1 year. Pittsburgh ain't paying that.
No, they're not.
So here's where they screwed up. You had Justin Fields, by far almost 10 years younger than him. I think Russell Wilson's 36, 37. Justin Fields about 25, 26, somewhere in that age range. He wanted $30 million guaranteed, and he wanted a starting position. The Steelers weren't going to give him the starting position because of Tomlin's relationship with Russell Wilson, and he bounced for guaranteed money in a starting position with the Jets. That's where the Steelers screwed up at. I don't think they can afford Russ Wilson because they're going to pay between 30 and 40 million. And it's probably going to be for a couple-year contract because he's 36 or 37. He can't play forever.
Anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I was kind of done with Russell Wilson. I mean, I know, like you said, you wanted to give him another year maybe. We weren't going to pay him. I don't think we ever planned on paying him. That's why we were looking at Rodgers so much and kind of ruined our ties with him. But I just think not paying Fields and offering him the starting job was a bad idea because we're basically paying Rodgers the same thing we would have paid Russ anyways. So we really don't want to pay either of them. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
It's despair in the blind eagle's eye. That's the best way that I'm going to describe the quarterback situation with Pittsburgh. What I mean by that is last year, it was all hoorah here in Pittsburgh. Oh my goodness, we're only paying $1.2 million for Russell Wilson. We got Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick. Lucas, if you go back to that episode whenever me and you were breaking down all the Steelers' moves, I said, pump the brakes for a second, guys. These are great moves. Yeah, sure, you got a veteran quarterback who's going to mentor a young guy that you can possibly push to be the franchise quarterback. But at the end of the day, this was just a train wreck waiting to happen because both quarterbacks, both of them, are only on 1-year deals. They're not guaranteed for the future, and you're either going to have to re-sign one of them or completely start from scratch going in the next year. And guess what? We're right back to the beginning of the circle again. We have to now find a brand new quarterback because Fields was promised an opportunity to start with the Jets. I don't blame him for taking it. We'll get to that more when we talk about New York later. But the relationship with Russell Wilson now is completely strained, in my opinion, beyond repair at this point. I don't see Russell Wilson wanting to sign with Pittsburgh, even if Pittsburgh somehow does cough up the money for it. Pittsburgh got to go all in at Aaron Rodgers at this point. And that's going to transition to this next point. I want to ask you guys, who do you believe should be the Steelers quarterback, or who should the Steelers target? Whether that be someone in the draft, free agency, is there a quarterback maybe they should trade for? Should they go Rodgers? I want to get your opinion, Dad, starting with you. Who do you think the Steelers should honestly get?
I'm looking at these stats from last year. Russell Wilson had 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for 2,482 yards. I forget how many games he started. I think he didn't start 5 games, correct?
Yeah.
Wasn't,
No, 6.
6 games.
Because wasn't it 4-2 Fields went?
Right,
I
and
think,
I
yeah.
believe Rodgers was hurt in a couple games as well. Don't know the exact amount of games. He had 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 3,897 yards. It's a pretty good season for being on that garbage team.
It was, yeah.
I mean, they played from behind a lot too. So I mean, we can't forget that. What was your question? Oh, sorry. I just
My
wanted to read
question
the
was,
stats.
who do you believe the Steelers should target for quarterback? So this could be someone in the draft. This could be a free agent. This could be maybe someone to trade for. I have a couple of names in mind I want to get your guys' opinion on. But is there someone, I guess, because right now, I mean, I feel like this is like they're shooting themselves in the foot here.
I think they have to go draft because they spent too much money on DK Metcalf. Unfortunately, he's a great receiver, but you didn't have the quarterback in position. I think I said this on like 4 or 5 podcasts. The difference between a championship organization like a Chiefs, a Bills, a Baltimore Ravens, a Cincinnati Bengals, now with your Philadelphia Eagles, they have franchise quarterbacks. You need a franchise quarterback in this NFL. Steelers don't have it. They're missing that piece. That's the piece, the most important piece of that puzzle.
Okay.
And they just don't have it. And these making the playoffs and losing the first round, it's not helping you get a young quarterback. You had a shot with Justin Fields. He's out.
He's out. Any quarterbacks that you're looking at, Lucas?
Yeah, we're probably going to have to draft someone. The other problem with that is rushing someone that you drafted in on their rookie season is not obviously ideal. Something I heard a couple people saying is that we should pick Mason Rudolph back up,
Oh my
let
gosh.
him play for 1 year while we draft someone.
Like
and
as a
then-
bridge quarterback.
As a bridge quarterback, yeah. And then put whoever we draft in next season. I could see it happening.
But here's my thing. How you getting a high draft pick?
We're not.
There you go. That's where your elite quarterbacks are at, is at the top of the draft. Your Sanders, where's he going to go? He ain't going to go 32.
Yeah, that's true. Now, here's the thing with the draft. I mean, it's pretty obvious a guy like a Dylan Gabriel or a Cam Ward or a Shador Sanders, they're not going to be there. So the 2 quarterbacks that like have been rumored a lot here in Pittsburgh has been Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. Those have been the 2 names that's been thrown around. Even Kyle McCord from Syracuse, which I'll be honest, I personally don't see Kyle McCord as an NFL-ready quarterback. I mean, Dad, me and you can both attest to this. We saw him throw, 6 interceptions, 3 of them being pick sixes against Pitt. So I don't see Kyle McCord being an NFL-ready quarterback. That's just me. And same thing with Will Howard at Ohio State. I mean, I've seen these guys play in person. I'm not going to lie. I'm not fully sold on them. But that's for a different topic for a different day. Look, when we talk about Jackson Dart, that's actually a guy that I have penciled in for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I've had him penciled in for the last month or so. Talk about a guy with a hell of an arm at Ole Miss. He's like Matt Corral on steroids. I mean, this guy can really sling the football. And I'm absolutely a big fan of his. The question is, though, is he going to be a day 1 starter for Pittsburgh? I don't believe so. Lucas, I kind of agree with you. You don't want to throw in the rookie quarterback right before the season starts. You're going to need the bridge quarterback. You're going to need that veteran presence. I don't believe Mason Rudolph should be the guy, though, because I feel like the Mason Rudolph experiment in Pittsburgh is over. It makes the most sense because he knows the playbook better than anybody out of any quarterback that's active right now in the NFL. But I feel like the Mason Rudolph experiment, that ship has sailed. I wouldn't mind an Aaron Rodgers really for a year or two in Pittsburgh. Kind of let him sit in front of Dart, be the starting quarterback, and let Dart learn from him. Just the question is, again, is Pittsburgh willing to cough up the price for Rodgers for that year or so? That's what's going to be left to see here. Another guy that I'm going to throw out there. What about a Joe Flacco? He's a veteran quarterback you could bring in on a cheaper deal to use as a bridge quarterback. I'll even throw out a bonus one. Joe Milton, rookie quarterback from New England. The Patriots just signed Josh Dobbs. He's going to be their backup. Drake May is the franchise guy. Jacoby Brissett, he just signed a backup deal with the Arizona Cardinals. So that kind of just leaves Joe Milton there. Joe Milton has a hell of an arm as well. Why not the Steelers maybe trade a 3rd or 4th round pick for him? We've seen some flashes in the preseason. There's a couple of names out there I just wanted to throw in the mix just to get your guys' opinion on it. But I'm on board with you guys. They got to draft somebody, but they most certainly got to get that bridge quarterback. Like we saw with the Vikings. Sam Darnold was an amazing move, which we'll get to Darnold later. Sam Darnold was an amazing move. Bring him in, let him be a bridge guy for McCarthy. Unfortunately, McCarthy got hurt. But that's a great way of transitioning your young quarterback to starting success. Mahomes, they did it in Kansas City. They let him sit behind Smith. Smith did his thing, and then Mahomes came in when the time was right. They need to do that with a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe. They can't start day one.
Who's picking their quarterbacks? The Steelers.
What do you mean?
Who's looking at these quarterbacks? Because after Ben, you've had Trubinsky, you had Duck Hodges, you had Mason
No,
Rudolph.
Duck Hodges was with Ben, but yeah.
But I'm saying after he retired.
Well, no, Duck Hodges retired before Ben.
Okay, well then who was after Ben?
After Ben was
Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett,
Mason Rudolph,
Russell
Wilson,
Wilson,
Justin Fields.
and Justin Fields.
Yes.
Those are your 5 quarterbacks since he retired. What are none of them 5 quarterbacks right now? Franchise quarterbacks, except for maybe Justin Fields will be in the Jets. That's to be determined. I'm just saying, who's looking for these guys? I mean, you find a gem with Ben. You won 2 Super Bowls with him. Why can't you find that gem in the draft? Because he went to Ohio University. It ain't like he went to Alabama or Clemson or one of these big schools. He went to a Division III school or whatever that is, Division 1A, whatever they play in.
It's Division 1, but yeah, it's...
Why can't we? Why can't they find somebody? That's my point. Why can't they find that quarterback? Is it because of these make the playoffs and lose? I don't know.
It's a good question. They're settling for the bare minimum. That's something that I've noticed with Mike Tomlin. He's settling for the bare minimum. Just good enough to get a winning season and either make the playoffs or just miss the playoffs. But by the time you get there, your first round exits. They're settling for the bare minimum. Again, it's just despair waiting to happen at the end of the tunnel. We know what's going to happen every year at the Steelers. It's the same news about every team here in Pittsburgh. On Sideline, we recently debated which team is the most poverty in Pittsburgh. You can get a strong argument for all 3 of them. Bob Nutting needs to sell the Pirates. The Penguins have been a complete train wreck for the last 3 years, and the Steelers can't make it out of the first round. So, I don't know, Dad. I believe that they're just settling for the bare minimum.
I just think, I mean, listen, I'm not one to say somebody should lose their job, but if you can't find a franchise quarterback, you went through 5 quarterbacks. Just name 5 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to find one.
What do you guys feel like, though, with, like, some of those names I threw out, like a Joe Milton or Mason Rudolph, or should, like, those guys even be in consideration for the Steelers?
I wouldn't mind Joe Milton. The only problem is I don't really want to get rid of any of our draft picks because we need to fill some holes in this team.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why I would lean towards a Mason Rudolph because we waited too long now. The only people left in free agency are basically him and Aaron Rodgers that I would take. And Aaron Rodgers is going to cost a lot more than Mason Rudolph is. And Mason Rudolph has been on this team before. He knows how we run it. He knows the playbook. He knows the plays. We can probably get him for anywhere from $9 to $14 million on a 1-year contract as a bridge quarterback.
But what about like a Joe Flacco? Flacco, you could probably get a cheaper option.
All right, listen, if you don't go with any of the people you're naming.
I'm just throwing out names.
You're Milton, you're Aaron Rodgers, you're Flacco, and you mentioned Mason Rudolph. If you don't take Rodgers out of all them 4 quarterbacks, you might as well just look for the draft next year. Because ain't none of them quarterbacks going to win more than 5 or 6 games. Milton ain't that good. Flacco, he's too old. And Mason Rudolph, unless he's getting head-to-head with a helmet, he ain't your answer either. I mean, seriously, the only guy that can win out of them 4 people you're naming is Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like the reason why we have to take the other names into consideration, though, is because it's such a question mark on if Pittsburgh's going to pay Rodgers or not. Because you would think if Pittsburgh wanted Rodgers so badly, wouldn't the deal already be done by now? That's my question. Like, if Pittsburgh was so willing to get Aaron Rodgers, you okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
If Pittsburgh was so willing to go out there and get Aaron Rodgers, wouldn't they have already paid him? I know Rodgers is a stubborn guy. I know Rodgers wants his money. But at the end of the day, like, a deal should have been done by now.
Aaron Rodgers is a lot to deal with.
Oh, we know.
He's a head case.
I know. I did
So
a whole
if
essay
there's
on
not
him.
a deal being done, he's probably part of the major reason why it's not being done. Check his social media feed. Check McAfee. That's where you'll probably hear about the deal before anywhere.
That's true.
Because
He said he wants to announce his team signing on the McAfee show.
there you go.
When? Tomorrow?
I don't know when. I just saw a report that Aaron Rodgers is going to announce what team he chooses on the McAfee show.
Man, I called that,
Whether-
didn't I?
You did call that.
No matter where he
That was a
goes.
good one.
Listen, at the end of the day, he's coming out saying that he wants to maybe possibly retire too. Did you see that news article? You ain't retiring, dude. You're asking for 20 or 30 million. You're not retiring. 40 million, whatever you want. You're not retiring. I'm sorry, you're not doing it. Quit lying to people. You want the money. Just come out and say, look, I want the money. I still got a little bit left in the tank. But I think if you sign any of them other people, woo, I'd probably sell my Steeler tickets if I was a season ticket holder.
Let's look at
If
it.
Mason Rudolph was the starter in Pittsburgh, I would sell my tickets the next day.
The problem is, last time he was in Pittsburgh, he went 3 for 4. So there's no hard evidence that he's going to suck in Pittsburgh.
Did you watch him last season?
No, not really. But he was also on a much worse team.
The Titans?
You really going to compare the Titans team to the Steelers team?
Yes.
You have a lot less stuff to work with there on both sides of the ball.
So you think Metcalf's going to help him throw the ball?
I think that Rudolph could get us at least 9 wins if he can.
I would take that bet in a heartbeat. We'd shave
Ooh.
your head bald.
What's with you shaving people? You want
I
to
would
shave Kevin's
I would
mustache,
shave
now you want to
bald
shave his
on
hair.
air on YouTube Live. Because he ain't winning 9 games in 2 seasons.
I'm not gonna lie, that'd be a nice promo.
No.
You'd have to edit it too. That'd be
9
crazy.
wins.
Imagine editing your
9.
own shaving.
Listen, Steelers organization, please sign Mason Rudolph. Please start him so this young man could be bald. Because he ain't winning 9 games. I would put him on a Chiefs. He could win 9 games.
I don't know about that one. Well, we'll talk about your Chiefs in a little bit. They kind of got gutted this free agency. I want to move over to the Cleveland Browns though for a second because the Browns have been in the news more specifically with a player that honestly I did not expect to return to this team, and I'm going to start off with him and get your guys' reaction on it. Edge Myles Garrett has officially signed a 4-year extension with the Cleveland Browns that includes $123 million guaranteed and has an average per year salary of $40 million. The deal, which ties Garrett to the Browns for the next 6 years, also includes a no-trade clause. This, of course, per Ian Rappaport and NFL officials at NFL.com. Lucas, I mean, me and you were talking about Myles Garrett possibly joining the Eagles, going to a different team. He's back in Cleveland. What's your reaction?
Money talks. I mean, he said he's not going to sign there. He said he's not willing to negotiate. They offer him money and he signs there. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't blame him. He's, the highest paid edge now? NFL history, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him, honestly. He's probably not going to advance his career very much there, but that's a lot of money.
We clapping?
I'm clapping for him.
Okay,
Good
we'll
for
clap.
him. You know why? He did what they call negotiate. He negotiated to get a good deal. Good for him. Looked out for him and his family. Good for him. He got what he wanted. I'm not going to hate on him. Sometimes you got to threaten to leave.
You guys ready for this?
Yep.
You guys ready for this one? It's official. Myles Garrett is the best active defensive player in football right now. Who else can it be? It's not Chris Jones. It's not TJ Watt. Myles Garrett has been consistently great for almost a decade now. Always having double-digit sacks. Always having double-digit tackles in a game. Always being a presence on the field. Always getting to the quarterback. Always disrupting the flow of any opposing offense, even in his own conference, which is a pretty tough conference to go up against when you're going against Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow twice a year. Look, Myles Garrett has been nothing short of spectacular. He's went through the Killer Bee phase when the Steelers had Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. He went through Lamar Jackson's phase where they had the Heisman 3 with Mark Ingram and RG3. He went through the explosive Bengals offense that we saw 3 years ago in the Super Bowl, nearly defeating the Rams, upsetting the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Look, Myles Garrett has persevered and pulled through against every single one of those offenses and has always been a threat. He absolutely deserves his contract. I'm not going to hate on him for it at all. He got paid his money. He absolutely deserves it. He negotiated it to a T, and he is staying in Cleveland as a representative, as their leading edge, and in my opinion, as the best defensive player in football.
before you said that ridiculous thing about Mason Rudolph being the starter
Oh my
in
God!
Pittsburgh,
Let's go back to this.
did you know that Myles Garrett signed with them, or did you not know?
No, I know. I told him. I was talking to
Okay,
him about
what were
it
you
the day
thinking?
after.
He was going to hit him in the head 2 games out of the year? Maybe they get a win that way? Is that what you were thinking? Because they still needed 7 more to get 9, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, Myles Garrett's back though, but not only that, the Browns have also been making some other moves on this defense. I mean, some other moves out there. Edge Joe Shanika has signed a 1-year deal worth $4.75 million. They also got defensive lineman Malik Collins, linebacker Devin Bush, offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas, and they had a bit of a trade with their backup quarterbacks. I want to get your guys' reaction to this. Kenny Pickett has been acquired in a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 2025 fifth-round pick, Kenny Pickett, for my boy DTR. Dad, what's your reaction to that?
You know, when I heard that, I'm thinking, man, he might have a chance to start because the whole Deshaun Watson debacle that's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they fly in Russell Wilson.
Did you hear the other name that's rumored?
Yes.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, here goes Kenny again. He's got to be hating it. Like, every time he tries to get, like, a starting gig, other than Philly, I mean, he got a ring. I mean, good for you, Kenny.
You want to sell...
I'm not going to hate on Kenny at all because he brought us an ACC championship.
Of course. You want to know the meme that I saw that I thought was hilarious? The meme that I saw, it was Myles Garrett in the negotiating room, and it had him, like, threatening, being like, if you guys don't sign a Super Bowl winning quarterback, I'm going to a different team. And they said, don't worry, we'll bring in a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Kenny Pickett is that Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, I knew Kenny Pickett was destined to be a Cleveland Brown whenever he sacked himself.
That was
Listen,
a
he
good...
got something
spit
your
that
Steel-
out.
Hey, he got something your Steelers ain't got right now. He got a ring on his finger.
Participation trophy.
Hey, he was on the roster.
I mean, he threw 3 incomplete passes, but he was still playing the game.
He looked pretty terrible, too. Listen, at the end of the day, their quarterback situation isn't a debacle. I cannot see him signing Kirk Cousins. Where are they coming up with another $100 million? They just gave Deshaun Watson a couple $100 million. They gave Myles Garrett a couple $100 million. They got more money than that to give another $100 million?
I guess.
Is this what it's going to cost? That dude comes with a $100 million price tag.
He
And
does.
he's garbage. He's hot garbage. I say start Kenny Pickett over him. I would anyways.
You would?
Over Kirk Cousins, yes, absolutely.
What about over Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, he's not the same person. He's not even a shell of the person he used to be.
It'd be kind of funny if Russell Wilson started over Kenny Pickett and Kenny Pickett left the Steelers because of Russell Wilson coming.
I think that's the only one they can really, all jokes aside, I think they can afford him before Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking 30 to 40 million, Cousins about 100 million. I don't see how, unless they somehow space it out to where Deshaun Watson don't hit. I mean, 200 million. If you have 2 quarterbacks, they're both making 100. It's 200 million off your payroll.
I know.
Who you pay? Who else is on your team? You're gonna have like the Water Boys. You got Bobby Boucher's running around on the field.
You know how funny it would be if they were paying $200 million for 2 quarterbacks, yet Kenny Pickett was the one still starting? I think that would be absolutely hilarious.
That'd be the most Cleveland Brown thing I've ever heard of.
That's another team that can't figure out the quarterback situation.
No, I know. And the AFC North is just laughing at him. I mean, they got the Bengals and Ravens right there. We'll get to them later on. I want to move over to the Buffalo Bills, though, for a second, guys, because how about Josh Allen? Josh Allen has officially agreed on a new 6-year deal worth $330 million with $250 million guaranteed. I mean, he marries Haley Seinfeld, he gets the MVP for the first time in his career, and now he signs a brand new 6-year deal that's going to keep him in Buffalo. Dad, the Chiefs have gone up against the Bills time and time again in the playoffs. They're actually 4-0 against Josh Allen when it matters most. What's your opinion to Allen not only getting an MVP, but also signing this new deal?
I'll be honest with you. I think there's a bigger signing in Buffalo than.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Than
You want to bring that one up?
Than Josh Allen, and I'm not even going the Pittsburgh connection.
Which one are you talking?
Bosa.
Yeah, Joey Bosa signing a 1-year deal.
Bosa, 1-year deal. They finally have an edge rusher now.
Well, they had Greg Rousseau.
It's not Bosa. I mean, it's not Bosa. I think their defense is their pass rush is what hurt them in a lot of games going down the stretch. I think that's a very big sign. Good for Josh Allen, though. Hey, he had a heck of a season. He deserved it. He just can't win the big game. That's all. Nothing against him. Some
Right.
quarterbacks go all their career can't win the big game. Nothing against him. I'm not cutting him aside. Never been a quarterback. I can't throw a ball more than 15 yards. not insulting him by any means. He just can't win the big game. Until he wins that big game, good for him. He got paid. Good for him.
I do want to come back to the defense, but before that, Lucas, what's your reaction to Josh Allen getting this contract?
He deserves it. I mean, he's one of the greatest in the league right now, and good for him. I mean, that was a big contract.
Massive. I will say this. I said this on Steel City Commuters with Nick, and I'll say it here too. Josh Allen completely changed the landscape in Buffalo. There was a long period of time where Buffalo had a quarterback situation. They could not find a quarterback for more than 2 or 3 seasons. I would say the last great quarterback they really had was Jim Kelly, and look what happened there. 4 straight Super Bowls, not a single win in any of them. So Josh Allen has been the quarterback to give him the closest shot to even being in the Super Bowl. It just sucks that they can't overcome a win against Patrick Mahomes when it matters most. Maybe now that the Chiefs are knocked off that pedestal in the Super Bowl, maybe it will be a different story next year in the playoffs. But again, only time will tell. That's going to be the story of the offseason. Back to the defense, though, Dad. You just mentioned Edge Joey Bosa signed a 1-year deal. Not only that, they also fortified this front 7. Edge Michael Hodge has signed a 3-year contract worth up to $24 million. Joey Bosa, of course, on that 1-year deal worth $12.6 million. And Greg Rousseau is back on a 4-year deal worth $80 million. So they got 3 solid edges. Not only that, Larry Ogunjobi is coming over from the Pittsburgh Steelers on a 1-year deal. Terrell Bernard on a 4-year extension. Derek Forrest, DeMar Hamlin, and Reed Ferguson, all ink contracts as well. Guys, not only is the defense getting better, Josh Allen now has weapons. Khalil Shakur and Josh Palmer coming over from the LA Chargers on a 3-year deal. What's your reaction to all these signings?
I think the defense is what's going to help them. That's what they lacked. I don't think he really didn't have a weapons problem last season. I mean, yeah, they signed a couple new people, but at the end of the day, they couldn't stop Mahomes. That's how they lost. They just couldn't stop him.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against anybody. I'm glad to see D. Ham, Pittsburgh represent.
Yeah, shout to DeMar Hamlin.
I'm glad to see him sign a 1-year contract. I mean, personally, I would like to see him come to Kansas City, finish his career as a Chief. But, hey, we'll take him in Buffalo.
I will say this. If we can ever pull this off, I want to get DeMar Hamlin on as a guest, and I want the 3 of us to co-interview that. Do you know how cool that would be to get DeMar Hamlin on and all 3 of us talk? I think that would be a great episode. He's always been a fan of him. I mean, go back to the DeMar Hamlin special from like 2 years ago. I mean, DeMar Hamlin has always been loved here on the podcast. But I'm sorry, I just want to add that on.
No, that's fine. I'll see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one that got the connections with the Hamlins.
Yeah, I will try.
So,
I mean, I can't promise nothing. They're busy. They're NFL athletes. He's an NFL athlete.
He is. See if we can do it this summer.
Yeah, I mean,
before training camp.
It would be nice. That's why I was hoping maybe even came to Pittsburgh and signed with Pittsburgh. It would make it easier to have an interview.
It would. I don't want to drive all the way up to Buffalo. It's too cold up there.
Yep.
All right, Lucas, what's your reaction to all these signings for Buffalo? Do you believe that they're going to... I mean, is this better than last season? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like it has to be better. I mean, I kind of agree with your dad. I mean, the offense, cool, he has more weapons, but he doesn't really need them. I mean, he proved last year that he can work with what he gets. But this defense is going to help a lot. I'm really surprised Bosa came to the Buffalo. I thought he was going to go to San Francisco for sure. That's what it looked like, at least, and people were fake reporting that he already was there. Ogunjobi, I hate to see him leave my Steelers. I know I called you. I was a little bit mad about that one. I said some choice words about that. He's a great player, though. I mean, on paper, he hasn't looked great. I was actually arguing with people about this, but if you actually watch the game, he's great at run protection. His stats don't look good, but he's a great player to have on the line, especially if, depending on how they're going to use him. If he's depth, that'd be amazing depth. Or if they put him on the starting line, he'll keep that run down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's my thing with the Buffalo Bills. Last year, they were gutted like a cow around this time of year. The Buffalo Bills were completely milked on defense. They practically lost their entire secondary. They practically lost their 3 starting linebackers. And going into last year, that was a concern for me with Buffalo. And that's why I actually had them outside of my playoff bracket. I had Miami winning the division going into the season when we did our AFC East, NFC East division episode. And this year, I mean, they completely did a whole 180 here. They have changed the culture. They have brought back players like DeMar Hamlin, like Greg Rousseau, who's been a part of the defense for a long time. They got rid of some players that weren't exactly producing, like a Von Miller. And they brought in some more players as well to help out with this defense, like a Joey Bosa, like a Josh Palmer. They brought back Josh Allen, who has been their leader for the last several years. So I'm very happy with the moves here in Buffalo. This just makes them even better, and this honestly makes them the favorite right now in the AFC going into next year. outside of the Kansas City Chiefs, who, of course, you can never count out. With that all being said, though, I do want to move over to the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning AFC champions. Unfortunately, I cannot say Super Bowl champions anymore because that is the Philadelphia Eagles at this current point in time. But I'm blessed to say that we have a Kansas City Chiefs fan here on the podcast today to help break this down for us. So, Dad, DeAndre Hopkins is now a Baltimore Raven. Justin Watson is now a Houston Texan. Xavier Worthy having a bit of some legal trouble, but Kansas City did bring back Marquise Brown on a one-year contract. They brought back Nick Bolton, Kirsten Fulton, Trey Smith, Jalen Moore, Matt Ariza, and Elijah Mitchell, running back from the 49ers. With that being said, they also lost a couple of key players like Charvarius Ward and and Charvarius Ward. And Justin Reed, Justin Reed signed with the Saints. What's your reaction to all this, Dad? Do you believe the Kansas City Chiefs are having a decent offseason, a bad offseason? What are you looking at right now?
Bings, we just started the free agency market. We got to see what happens.
Oh, my gosh.
Because as of right now, they're losing a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're losing a lot, but I mean, they got some high draft picks coming up, too. I forget how many draft picks they have, and they fared well in the last couple drafts. I mean, remember when me and you sat and talked about it, when they got rid of Cheetah, what did we say? Everybody said that there's no way they can win without him. They can't win without him. They got that blockbuster deal. They had like 6 or 7 draft picks. They won a Super Bowl. I mean, I know there's some key losses there. I mean, look, I like this D-Hop. I love him to death. Love him as a player. We weren't going to sign him. He was make or break. Justin Watson, good for you. He's a third receiver. Good for you. Move on. There's some names out there, though. Cooper Kupp's out there.
Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen.
There's some names out there. They're not signed yet. That's why I said this is going to get interesting next couple weeks. This is where you're going to see teams positioning themselves like the Chiefs. If they're going to sign a veteran, and then you know they're going to get another young receiver in the draft. I mean, Worthy, dude, grow up. I mean, seriously.
I will say this: Rasheed Rice is coming back. Rasheed Rice will be coming back too next year.
I mean, so they got some young guys, but Worthy, quit being a dummy. Just play football.
If you were to sign a wide receiver, would you want Diggs, Kupp, or Lockett?
Ooh.
Diggs, Kupp, or Lockett?
That's a good question.
I would not take Lockett.
What about Allen? Keenan Allen too.
And Allen.
I would not take Keenan Allen. I think those are probably in my bottom of my barrel.
Okay.
I would either take Diggs or Kupp, but I'm leaning more towards Kupp because there was a breakdown in Buffalo with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a personal thing or what it was in the locker room. If you can't mesh with somebody of Josh Allen's caliber that wants to throw you the ball all the time, there's something there that we're not seeing. You didn't hear that from Kupp. Like the receivers stuck up for Kupp. They wanted him to stay there. So I would probably lean towards Cooper Kupp if it's just me personally. If I had to sign somebody, I would probably sign Cooper Kupp. Then I'd have Cooper Kupp. I'd have Hollywood Brown, Rasheed Rice, and I'd have Worthy. Sky Moore had...
Boop. All right, so, yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a bit of a train wreck down there right now, but there's still plenty of time left of the free agent cycle before we can start making those assumptions. So I would like to see what goes on here. And same thing with the draft again. I mean, Kansas City has found a few hidden gems. Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy. These have been great players in the draft. Just both of them faced a little bit of legal trouble and then injuries as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kansas City goes about that this year. But in all honesty, I'm not too concerned. I mean, you got the Chargers, who has a lot of moving pieces right now. The Raiders, who look like a completely different team. The Broncos, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're on the uprise. We'll get to Denver later on. But I still believe Kansas City... The AFC West is Kansas City's division to win. So I don't think they're going to have a problem necessarily getting back to the postseason. It's just going to be going forward, competing again with Buffalo, competing again with Baltimore, and continuing to be that big brother that they've always been. Are they going to be able to do that this year? Are they going to be able to do that without weapons? They did it before. Patrick Mahomes overcame this before without weapons. Can he put on Superman's cape one last time and do it again? That's going to be the question to be said later on.
I think if we're going to talk AFC West real quick.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Chargers.
We'll get to them.
They're losing more than the Chiefs are. Like, they're losing a Bosa. They've lost a running back.
Of course.
Their quarterback situation, Herbert, he's...
You want to talk about the Chargers? We can talk about the Chargers, yeah.
I was just going to talk about the West in general since you brought up...
Yeah, we can talk about the Chargers. Yeah.
And then, like, the team that I would look out for to give the Chiefs is the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to them.
That's the team that I would look at. If somebody's going to dethrone them, it would be them. I don't think they're there yet, but...
No, I agree with you. I mean, the Denver Broncos, I mean, you take a look at some of the moves they've made. I mean, Evan Ingram, that's a big signing right there. I mean, he was the best tight end available in the free agent market this year from Jacksonville, and he's coming on over right now. That's Bo Nix's security blanket. Bo Nix didn't even have a security blanket last year. He now has one in Evan Ingram. Not to mention the defense has gotten better. Hufanga is a part of this team now. Dre Greenlaw, DJ Jones, a big nose tackle coming in on a 3-year deal. Trent Sherfield, a veteran wide receiver. They locked in their backup, Jarrett Stidham. So, yeah, Denver is honestly a team that's a little concerning for me. And with the Chargers losing so many players, I mean, outside of Najee Harris and Dante Jackson and Elijah Molden, they really didn't go out there and get anybody else. Yeah, sure, they brought back Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's a great player, but that's only a 1-year deal. It's not fully guaranteed. I could actually see him being gone by the trade deadline, even though they just signed him. So I'm not fully sold on the Chargers just yet. And then you look at the Raiders. I mean, we'll get to the Raiders later on, but they're a rebuilding franchise right now. They did bring back Max Crosby. They traded for Geno Smith, who's a much older quarterback than what they're used to. And outside of a Landon Roberts, Eric Stokes, and Jeremy Chin on the defensive side, they really haven't made any moves or improvements on offense just yet. So it's going to be real interesting to see the way the Raiders go about this. But that's just pretty much my reaction. Any thoughts on the AFC West while we're on it, Lucas?
I mean, I told you yesterday on the phone, the Denver's my sleeper team this year. I mean, last time I called for a sleeper team, they ended up going like 4 wins. It was the Jets, but we'll move past that. Huh?
Hater.
What?
He's a hater.
How's he a hater?
Because he wants my Chiefs to get dethroned.
I said a sleeper team. I didn't say they're going to take over from the Chiefs.
All right,
You're the one that said that they might take over.
No, I said they'll have the only potential chance.
I didn't even say they have a chance to take over. I just said they're my sleeper
Listen,
team.
the Raiders been rebuilding. I got to put this out there real quick. The Raiders have been rebuilding since Rich Gannon. So I don't know what rebuilding phase they've been going on. You don't even know who Rich Gannon is, do you?
No.
I never scanned him.
You might not even have been born yet when they've been rebuilding. It's been like 18, 20 years since they've been rebuilding. The only thing they did good was build in Vegas. That's the only thing they did real good rebuilding-wise. Go ahead.
Hey, this might be the best team that the Raiders have had in the last 5-10 years.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the Raiders have improved, but I mean, Geno Smith is their quarterback now? I don't know.
I was surprised that Seattle. I was surprised.
Yeah, what's your guys'
Seattle
reaction to
moved
that? Geno Smith. I mean, we'll get to who the Seahawks have in a second, but Geno Smith, you guys think that's a good move? I mean, Pete Carroll's the head coach, so it
I
makes
mean,
sense.
it's better than anyone else that they were going to use.
There's 2 names that are going to be starting for the NFL this year. Of 2 quarterbacks that I cannot believe for the life of me are NFL starting quarterbacks. Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. Sam Darnold, congratulations.
We're getting into him next.
Listen, I'm going to give you a clap because the Minnesota Vikings, bud, you better put them on a Christmas card list. They got you that contract. You didn't get it. They got it. And Geno Smith, didn't I tell you before he was going to self-destruct last year? And he did. I called it. I nailed it.
I don't know if he
So
necessarily...
listen, if he was on a playoff caliber team, which was the Seahawks because they were in a bad division, what makes anybody in their right mind thinking go to the dumpster fire that Vegas is going to make them a better team?
Again, it's because Pete Carroll was their quarterback, and Pete Carroll has the Seattle connections. So don't be surprised if Lockett goes there, too.
I was about to say I wouldn't be surprised if Lockett goes.
If Lockett follows Geno Smith.
Trying to bring back the old days.
I mean, possibly. That's what they could be doing. I'm so glad you talked about the Seahawks, though, because that's actually the next team on our list. Wow, talk about a team losing a lot of key players. I mean,
Wait, doesn't Brady own some ownership in the Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brady does. There's actually Brady was actually on the phone call for when Geno got traded.
Oh, my gosh. What was he thinking?
I mean, you heard him on Fox, so I don't know. So here's what the Seahawks did. I mean, Tyler Lockett is cut. DK Metcalf is traded. Geno Smith is traded. The defense has been milked like a cow. But they did bring in quarterback Sam Darnold, who's now going to be the franchise guy. He is signing a 3-year deal worth $100.5 million with a $55 million guaranteed and a $37.5 million in year 1.
You know what's crazy for Sam Darnold?
What?
Whenever he started to think about going to this team, he actually had a team to go to.
Yeah.
Now he's going to a team that's going to get like 4 wins.
I know you guys have a lot to say about this. This is probably going to lead to the first debate of the episode. But before we get into that, here's some other moves they have. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is coming in. Josh Jones, DeMarcus Lawrence, which is a really big signing for them. He's coming over from Dallas on a 3-year deal worth $42 million. Jaron Reed is being re-signed, as well as Ernest Jones to fortify that front four. Dad, I see the smirk on your face. What do you believe the Seahawks are going to do with Sam Darnold under center this year?
Did you say MVS is a receiver for them?
Yeah, well, he's going to...
MVS that could not catch a cold in Kansas City.
Well, here's the thing. He's going to be wide receiver 3 behind Jake Bobo and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Don't disrespect Jake Bobo now.
I feel bad for JSN. He lost his best friend and his mentor.
Listen, I'm going to send a shout-out to Sam Darnold. Listen, bud, you might want to listen to this one. Get his prescriptions for some strong headache medicine, buddy, because you're going to need it, because you're going to be on your back a lot, because they ain't doing nothing with that line. Your receivers are garbage. You went from having a good organization, like Lucas said, where you probably won, 9, 10, 11 games. How many Minnesota win? You may not win 4 or 5 games, and you are going to be on your back a lot because you're going to get sacked a lot.
You ready for this? I believe the Seattle Seahawks are the biggest sleeper going into the playoffs next year. I believe the Seattle Seahawks can actually make a push and get into the playoffs with Sam Darnold under center. Look, you guys don't give Sam Darnold enough credit. Sam Darnold is fully capable of being a starting quarterback in today's NFL. Sam Darnold has done a great job at resurfacing his career. You talk about a guy who was completely screwed over in New York by the Jets, competed with Baker Mayfield in Carolina with the Panthers during their darkest days. He goes over to San Francisco, sits behind Purdy for a year in Shanahan's system, then goes to Minnesota as the bridge quarterback to a rookie, that being J.J. McCarthy, and then he absolutely lights it up, puts him on a 6-game winning streak, takes him with 10-plus wins, Week 18 battle against the Lions, and then they go into the playoffs. Now, don't get me wrong. Sam Darnold had a horrible 2-game stretch to end off the year last year. I'm not going to take that away from him at all. But I will say this. Sam Darnold working with these receivers, yeah, sure, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett's gone. But are we going to forget that Jackson Smith and Jigba is fully capable of being a starting wide receiver? What about Jake Bobo? The wide receiver room goes pretty deep with the Seattle Seahawks. Not to mention, they have the best 1-2 punch combo in terms of running backs in the entire National Football League. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both can take a workload. And this offensive line, adding a guy in Josh Jones, who is a big 6'7" guy on this offensive line, yeah, I'm fully invested in it. Not to mention their amazing corners they have with Tariq Woolen and Davon Witherspoon. I'm just telling you right now, DeMarcus Lawrence, that's a big addition as well. That's honestly the addition. Honestly, I think the DeMarcus Lawrence signing is bigger than the Sam Darnold signing, because that right there just completely takes the defense up a whole nother tier. I'm very excited to see the way the Seahawks play next year. I believe Sam Darnold is the better option. And plus, are we going to forget Sam Darnold's only 27 years of age, ladies and gentlemen? Geno Smith was in his late 30s. Sam Darnold's in his late 20s. This is a completely different age gap than what the team was working with last year. They got rid of old trash, and they're bringing in the new. Sam Darnold is the new. Now, is he going to win the division? That's still up for debate. The Rams got better. The 49ers, you can never count them out. The Cardinals, I mean, they're not going to win the division, but they're definitely going to be better than they were last year. So the Seahawks still have a lot of tough competition here. But to say that the Seahawks can't squeeze out 9 or 10 wins, and to say the Seahawks can't make a push for the playoffs, I fully disagree. I'm all locked in on Sam Darnold. I believe he's going to have a bit of a slump to start off the year just because of how many moving parts are there with Seattle. But give Sam Darnold time. I believe this is going to be a playoff contending team.
I mean, I'm not willing to say that the receiver room is terrible yet. I like Jackson Smith and Njigba. I like the running back room. Like you said, probably the best 1-2 combo. I just don't know if I see him making a push/run in the playoffs. I could see 8.
I never said a run. I just said a push.
I could see 8 wins, maybe 7 wins.
How many wins you got him winning?
I'm going to say 8 to 9 to be safe. They're going to be right there.
That might not be the playoffs then.
Well, yeah, I never said that they're going to make it. I said they could make a push for it. I'm going to say about 8 to 9. I agree with Lucas.
He came out of the league in 2018. He played for the Jets. He was 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions first year.
Oh, gosh.
Second year, 3,000, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. These are all Jet stats. Third year there, 2,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Went to Carolina. 2,000 for 9 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Had another season in Carolina, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3. I think he got hurt that year.
Mm-hmm.
Went to San Fran. I don't think he played at all because he only
played one game. He played Week 18.
Yeah, and then he went to Minnesota, and he had 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions.
That's a great season.
If I had Justin Jefferson as my receiver, who's his top receiver now?
Jackson Smith and Jigba,
Okay.
who's a great wide receiver.
Are they as good as Justin Jefferson?
You can't say that. There's no other
I'm
receiver.
asking an honest question. Because that's who he's throwing to now.
Are you gonna-
Jefferson would make the bad ball a catch.
Jefferson missed 4 games last year, so what's your point?
I'm just saying, he's not playing on a good team now. I do not see him winning.
Not a good team.
I do not see him winning more than 7
What's not good
games.
about the team?
7 is what I will give
What's
him.
not good about the Seahawks? So you can't say the Seahawks are not a good team and then completely dismiss the rest of their roster. I mean, they still have a deep wide receiver room. The running back room is elite. The offensive line is one of the biggest in all of football. What are you talking about?
I'm willing to bet you guys he doesn't win more than 7 games.
Okay, but what's bad about the offense? You're not telling me what's bad about this offense. I just laid out the blueprint.
Sam Darnold. I'm giving you what's bad about the offense.
So you're telling me that the Seahawks downgraded from Geno Smith to Sam
No,
Darnold?
I
Is
would
that what
never
you're
say-
saying?
No,
Because
Geno
because here's the thing.
Geno Smith was by far worse than him.
Okay, so
I
you're
just don't think I would sign Sam Darnold
Right.
for $100 million.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is Sam Darnold gives the Seattle Seahawks a better chance at making a push for the playoffs than Geno Smith in this last regimen did.
How many wins did Geno Smith have?
It depends. Which season are we talking about?
Last year.
Last year, what was it? 9 wins?
So
Something
you're
like that.
saying, with your analogy,
8 wins. It was 8 wins.
you just gave me, you only gave Sam Darnold one more victory.
Yeah, in his first year, yes, I said that it's going to be a slump his first year. But
So if he's an upgrade, it should be 2 to 3 games as an upgrade.
again, when you look at the level of competition in the NFC West, every team has gotten better. So it's about the same. The level of production is going to go up, but the winnings is going to be about the same.
Listen, the next time you need to negotiate a contract, get a hold of Cousins or get a hold of Sam Darnold's agent, because that's who you need negotiating a contract for you.
Listen, I'm not going to agree with you at all on that because you can't. Because what you're saying is the Seahawks are going to do worse under Sam Darnold, who you just said is an upgrade from Geno Smith.
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense. How is Sam Darnold going to do worse than Geno Smith, but you said it's an upgrade? That doesn't make any sense.
I gave him 1 game less. If he had 8 wins,
You
giving
said
him
4
7.
wins. You said 4 wins
No, then
before.
I said 7. Didn't I just say 7 wins, Lucas?
Yeah.
I did just say 7 wins.
See, I knew we were going to debate Sam Darnold. I knew that was going to be the one that was going to
That's
set us
because
over the edge.
you got like a crush on him or something. I don't know what it is.
I don't have a crush on him. I don't have a crush on him. I recognize great talent.
I think you want him on this. Maybe I shouldn't say crush. I think secretly, he wants him on the Cardinals organization.
No. Me and Lucas have a side bet about Kyler Murray, actually.
I hope it's his first plane ticket out of there.
Well,
Actually,
actually,
it is.
I feel like that's a good transition to the Cardinals then. So let's talk about the Cardinals for a second. I mean, here's my philosophy on the Cardinals. If Kyler Murray doesn't get at least more than 8 wins this upcoming year, I believe that this should be his last year as a Cardinal. He should be traded after the season. That's what I said. I got to see some success here because every year it's either been just missing the playoffs, first round exits, or he's been hurt for half
Do you
the
think
year.
it's all on him though?
I don't think it's all on him, but it comes a
He's
point when
went through how many quarterback coaches? How many head coaches?
he's went through 2 different coaches, Cliff Kingsbury and Jonathan
I think
Gannon.
it's 2 or 3 quarterback coaches too.
Yeah, and then 3 offensive coordinators.
I mean, does that fall solely on him for wins?
Not fully. That's why I've been so defending of him. But like this year, I mean, like again, out with the old, in with the new. I feel like his compensation for trading, is going to go down if we don't get rid of him after this year.
I just think maybe he's a little too small for an NFL quarterback. My personal opinion. I'm just giving my personal opinion.
I get it. Well, hey,
6'1", 6'2" for me. That's the quarterback I want. At least 6'1", 6'2" or up.
well, I will say this: the Cardinals have improved their defense. L.J. Collier, Josh Sweat, Akeem Davis-Gaithers, Baron Browning, Evan Brown, Kevin Beachum, Zay Jones, and Jacoby Brissett, all part of the Cardinals now. So welcome to all the new players and welcome back to all the returning players. Same with Aaron Brewer, one of the best long snappers in the league.
So let me ask you this: with all them signings, you
Yes.
think they're going to win their division?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I actually believe they're the worst out of the 4 teams still. I believe the Arizona Cardinals are the worst. I believe if I had to give it a division ranking right now, I would say Rams, Seahawks, Niners, Cardinals.
I'm actually giving your team more credit than you are. I
Really?
think they're better than the Niners.
I do too.
What have the Niners done this free agency besides to lose their entire team?
Well, that's a good transition then.
They
We can go
signed
over.
Kittle, didn't they? To some big deal. Was that last year?
That was last year. No, the
Yeah.
biggest deal that they've actually signed was DeMarcus Robinson to a 2-year deal worth $9.5 million and tight end Luke Farrell on a 3-year deal
Yeah,
worth $20.
they've just been handing away their players.
Yeah, they got used checks gone.
Hey, I remember a couple years ago.
Green
This one
law.
here says "Bang Bang Niners Gang." They were winning the Super Bowl. Remember that one?
I never said they were winning the Super Bowl. I just said that Brock Purdy was a good quarterback.
That was you. You
No,
called it.
You were making fun of us for Brock Purdy.
Hey, where's he at?
He's still the starter.
Tell him.
You know what's funny?
I got applications for down the warehouse. If it don't work out for you, Brock, don't worry about it. But
I actually said this to Lucas, and Lucas said that you were going to flame me if I said on 2 Jagoffs, but I'm not scared of you, so I'm going to say it anyway. I believe Brock Purdy's going to be on the hot seat soon. Soon. Next year. It depends. You got to give Purdy another year or 2.
How many years you giving this guy? You said he was so great.
I said he was going to get on you.
I know.
You said he was so great when they lost in the Super Bowl.
Oh, he was. He was great that year. He was really good that year,
Okay.
actually. He was a great quarterback. He was one of the best in the
The one
NFL.
thing you need to learn about sports is when
my
they're playing
gosh.
for a contract year, they play better.
They play better. Okay.
Sam Darnold, he's a proven fact right now.
Yes, and he's going to showcase his talent this year in
We're
Seattle.
going to see what he does, and then you're going to say, well, it was his first year there.
I am going to say that because I did say he's going to go in a first-year slump. Didn't I say first-year slump?
Listen, either you're a good quarterback or you're not a good
He's a
quarterback. At the end of the day,
I'd say
you're
Sam
either
Darnold's a
good or
great
not.
quarterback.
Is he better than Kyler Murray? Because you had Kyler Murray in your top 15 at the beginning of the season. Let's not forget about that, Lucas.
Actually, it was
Did you forget about that?
it was top 12, but
Kyler Murray was in his top 15, and I argue with him.
that's actually a good question. I got to think about that one. I don't believe he is. I believe Kyler Murray is still better.
Brock Purdy was up there, too.
No, he was not. Purdy was not. I had
Where
Murray
was Sam
above him.
Darnold? 'Cause I never heard him talk about it.
Sam Darnold wasn't supposed to be the starter when I made the list.
I never, ever heard him talk about him.
It was because J.J. McCarthy was supposed to be the starter at the time. So I had McCarthy on that list, not Darnold.
You didn't think Sam Darnold was a good quarterback till this year.
Yes, because we didn't get to see his talent until this year. Are you kidding me?
Played for 4 different teams. I watched him go downhill.
Again,
He was like a plane going down.
listen, Dad, Adam Gase was his head coach at one point. Adam Gase, the worst head coach I've ever seen. Adam Gase.
Listen.
Adam Gase. Adamgase. Adam Gase.
Keep making excuses.
My gosh.
Keep making excuses for him.
Are you going to say Adam Gase was a good head coach? Lucas would be a better head coach than Adam Gase, Dad. Come on.
No, because he would.
Austin, put a picture of Adam Gase up on the screen real quick. Thank you. There's Adam
Hey,
Gase.
can you actually put a picture of Matt Hardy on the screen?
No,
real
I'm
quick?
putting Matt Hardy.
Yeah, you are.
There's Matt
Yeah,
Hardy.
it's right there, yeah. I told you we're going
Matt
to.
Hardy's on the
No, it's
screen.
funny.
What?
He's still on the screen.
I know
Yeah,
Lucas.
he's still there.
I know he's still on the screen.
You know what's funny? Kyler Murray was in his top 15 football last year. That's so funny. We gotta go back and listen to that episode and listen to the quarterbacks he had in the top 15.
Which one?
Of
Look,
how bad they actually finished. That's some research for me and you to do. I'll go back.
Have
and
Mr.
do
Just
that.
tell Mr. Jack Dean to do it.
I'm about to say, have Jack do it. Jack will go back and listen.
Because I guarantee the bums that he had on that, there's some bums on that list.
Baker Mayfield is on there somewhere too.
Oh my lord.
But yeah, I think it's time we move over to the LA.
Can we smell that Pepsi you're drinking? Is there something in there?
No, it's a perfectly normal Pepsi.
Okay, well, you're talking like... you've
Well, if
been
we're talking
drinking.
NFC West, I feel like we should move over to the Rams, especially because there's still a picture of Matt Hardy on the screen, and we got to get rid of him. So let's talk about Matthew Stafford restructuring his contract, keeping him with the LA Rams. Not only that, Devontae Adams is coming over to the Rams, signing a 2-year contract worth $46 million with $26 million guaranteed. Some other signings for the Rams is wide receiver Tutu Atwell, offensive tackle Arleek Jackson, defensive lineman Poona Ford, and backup quarterback, my man, porn star Jimmy Garoppolo. Dad, what's your reaction to all the moves here in LA, more specifically the Devontae Adams?
I was a little disappointed when they got rid of Cooper Kupp, but then they signed Adams. I understood why. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have got rid of Kupp over Adams because I think Kupp still got a couple more years than Adams. I mean, he's a better talent. I don't know. I mean, we got to see what happens. I don't know what to say. I mean, Stafford, congrats for restructuring your contract. You want to try to win another championship. That's what you got to do.
I'm going to disagree here. I actually think that Adams is the better choice for them overall.
That's what I said.
I thought you said Kupp's the better choice.
I said I would have kept him because of the age. That's the only reason why I would have kept him.
I like Adams coming over. That's gonna be a big help. I'm really excited to see him and Puka work together.
Like he was in the Jets. Big help.
It's the Jets.
It is the Jets.
Jets. Let's go Jets.
Isn't that your childhood team?
Mark Astino, my all-time favorite football player.
That was
of
his
all time.
favorite team as a kid.
Yep.
The Jets.
I used
I'm
to
sorry for
draw
young you.
the logo because they were Southgate green and white. Man, come on, man. You don't get nothing, man. Come on.
Are you a Houston Texans fan now?
Absolutely not.
Nah, there we go. That's why. No, but I mean, the only bad thing I've seen out of LA right now is re-signing porn star Jimmy. So,
You don't like Jimmy G?
would you put him as your starter on your team?
No, I wouldn't put him as a starter. I'm just saying he's a solid backup.
Would you have rather had him as a backup than whatever quarterback?
I'd
you
rather
sent
have
as a backup?
I'd rather have Brock Purdy than Jimmy Garoppolo.
So we keep shitting on porn star Jimmy, but you say he's a good quarterback. And
I never said he was a good quarterback. I just said
Don't question me next time.
Oh, okay, damn. No, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Puka Nacua is actually like the biggest storyline for me for the Rams right now because Devontae Adams coming over and working side by side with a young receiver. Honestly, I see a lot of shades of Devontae Adams in Puka Nacua. Just the way both of these receivers run their routes, the way they go up and grab the ball, the way they play one-on-one man against one-on-one man coverage. They both are very similar players. You see very similar shades in both of their play styles. Puka Nacua was actually compared to Devontae Adams when he was being drafted out of BYU a couple years back by the Rams. So I'm fully excited to see how this turns out. I believe the Rams are the favorite right now in the NFC West, like we just talked about before, just because, again, the Seahawks, they have a lot of moving parts right now. The Cardinals are the Cardinals, and the Niners, I mean, they've seemingly gone on the down slope over the last couple of years, losing a lot of their players, especially on the defensive side. So I'm not fully sold on them yet, but I'm all locked in on the Rams. Let's see what happens. I mean, the Rams did lose a pretty crucial game to the Cardinals last year and did lose a pretty crucial game later on in the year, but the game that sold it for me was the Buffalo Bills. That was a great game from both squads. So it's going to be interesting to see the way both of these teams play. I think it's time we transition over to the Washington Commanders, a team that was in the NFC Championship last year up against Philadelphia Eagles, their division rival. And man, oh man, they have made some moves this year. The big one, in my opinion, being Laremy Tunsil, offensive tackle, who in my opinion is the best tackle in the entire league, was acquired in a trade with the Texans along with a 2025 fourth-round pick. Not only that, they are bringing back several key players, one of them being tight end Zach Ertz on a one-year deal worth $6.25 million, linebacker Bobby Wagner on a one-year deal, and then some other players that they are bringing on over as well in free agency is wide receiver Deebo Samuel, who they acquired in a trade with the 49ers for a fifth-round pick, running back Jeremy McNichols, quarterback Marcus Mariota, defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw, cornerback Jonathan Jones, and safety Will Harris. Dad, I'm going to go with you on this one first. Jaden Daniels has a lot of pieces now to a puzzle that seemingly was almost complete last year. Does this give them a chance to get right back in the NFC Championship competition? Or do we believe that this is just another offseason for them?
I mean, time's going to tell. First couple games are going to tell you if it was a one-year wonder or if he was actually the real deal. I'm hoping he's, as far as with their acquisitions, I'm hoping that he is not a one-year wonder because I actually like the way he plays football.
Mm-hmm.
And now he got Deebo. Oh, man, look out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he really, nothing against TJ, what was it, McLaurin?
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin.
Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. Nothing against him, but he ain't no Deebo.
That's true.
I mean, you could run him, you could throw to him. Heck, I've even seen him throw in games. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. I'd like to see them knock the Eagles off of their crown. You know, obviously for other reasons, but
Do you believe they can compete with the Eagles now?
absolutely.
Really? I mean, they did win a game on them last year.
I think they could have competed with them last year. Let's not forget, the Rams could have beat the Eagles in that NFC Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Had they not blocked the best player on the field, they come back and probably win that game or tie that game. So, yeah, I think that Washington can hang with the Eagles. I'm hoping they dethrone them, personally. I'm done seeing the Eagles. I'm done seeing Pittsburgh people cheer for the Eagles. Because guess what? In Philly, I ain't cheering for you guys. I know that for a fact.
Lucas, what's your reaction to all the moves that the Washington Commanders have made? What a last couple of years for them.
Yeah, Washington's going to be a contender again. I mean, they just completely beefed up their team. I mean, Tunsil's a beast. He's a bad man.
Yeah, he is.
It's probably, honestly, going to be a rematch of Eagles versus Washington again. So, I wouldn't be surprised. Are you okay over there?
I'm okay. I'm sorry. Can I please tell him why I'm laughing?
I don't care.
Can I please tell him why you're laughing?
Yes, it's
So-
hilarious.
Okay, so lady, this is not a video podcast. We're doing a visual podcast. And my dad just pointed down to his feet, and I'm like, what? I look down. You're wearing 2 different socks right now.
Yeah, who put them together? You.
One of those socks I think are mine, and the other one's yours. How did that happen?
Lucas, this is what happens at the Carnes house. Pick your litter, bud. That's what happens. You wear 2 different socks. Don't worry about it, man. It's all good.
That's not as funny as it should be, but I just look down and I see 2 completely different socks. They're not even remotely close. They're both Puma, but one of them's dark and the other one's light. So I don't know how.
One's gray and one's white. I don't know how it happened. I blame it on Austin. That's who I blame it on.
I didn't even do the laundry this week, but that's hilarious. I'm sorry. I just had to point that out real quick. Back to Washington.
Why don't you find that funny, Lucas? It's hilarious. And it's at my expense.
It is. You should be laughing at him. This is a moment for us to gang up on him. I mean, you just missed the opportunity, damn it.
Yeah, it's because he's scrolling on his phone. He's Facebooking.
I'm trying to look for trades.
He's looking,
I'm looking at an
he's
NFL
looking at
page.
Facebook, Instagram.
He's being our insider
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
looking at NFL inside pages. What do you mean Facebook?
He's over Instagramming it up. Wonder if anybody liked his last post.
I'm trying to see whenever the Chiefs make another dumb move in free agency to screw
good
themselves
Lord.
over for the next year's Super Bowl.
Okay, look, let me get this back on the track for a second since I completely took it off. I'm very happy with the way Washington had their offseason. I mean, they brought back the players they needed to bring back. I mean, Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz were the 2 biggest moves, in my opinion, that Washington had last year in the free agent market. And both of them, players that we completely written off. Zach Ertz leaving the Cardinals. Obviously, Trey McBride was the better tight end. We said his career was over. And Bobby Wagner, after he departed from the Seahawks, there was really no turning back from him. So the fact that both of those players still showcase that they do have a lot left in the tank and they can be a key part to both the offense and the defense just really shows the grittiness that the Washington Commanders have. Not to mention Deebo Samuel, one of the most unique players in the NFL. He did gain a little bit of weight in the offseason, so a lot of people are concerned about that. I personally believe that's not going to be an issue.
Up. He's bulking up for the
Yeah,
summer.
he's bulking up, so I think he'll be perfectly fine. John Bates, that's a pretty solid tight end signing right there, too. I mean, they got 2 solid tight ends now for Jaden Daniels to have as, I guess, kind of a security blanket, kind of like what we were saying earlier with Bo Nix and Evan Ingram. So I'm excited to see the way this offense pans out this year. It's the question raises. It's the same thing I'm going to say about C.J. Stroud last year. Is he going to be a one-season wonder? Is this going to be just a one-time thing? Was this just a fluke year? I don't believe it is. I believe they are going to compete. I believe they are going to be right back in there in playoff contention again. But they have a big monster standing in their way, and it just so happens to be the Super Bowl champions. Speaking of the Super Bowl champions, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles for a second. I mean, we already talked about DTR being a new backup after the Kenny Pickett trade happened, but the other big news was running back Saquon Barkley has officially signed his 2-year extension worth $41.2 million. They're also bringing in running back A.J. Dillon to replace Kenneth Gainwell, along with linebacker Zach Bond on a 3-year deal, and offensive guard Kenyon Green. He was involved in a trade which sent C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans. Dad, the defense had been kind of milked in the offseason, but the offense seemingly is going to be the same as last year. What's your reaction to the moves Philly has made thus far?
They're losing a lot of defense. That's what they're losing. I mean, I don't know. Did you see that Instagram thing I sent you about the Tushy Push, about how that's...
The Tushy Push?
Yeah, did you see
the
how
Tush
that's...
Push.
Yeah, how that's actually an illegal play?
Yeah. I think I was the one that sent it to you.
Maybe you sent it to
I was
me.
the one that sent it to
Did
you.
you see that?
No.
I'll have to
All
share it.
jokes aside, you'll have to look at it. It's actually in the rule book. It's an illegal play. Me and Austin, like I tell him, I hate when players push players, and it's not just the Eagles. I'm not bringing it up, but that's who we're on. Is like say Mahomes is not Mahomes. Let's say Najee Harris. I'm going to use an ex-Steeler. Let's say he's running down the field and his lineman comes up and pushes him for 5 more yards. That should be a dead play right there. That should be a dead play. If you can't run on your own, you're basically being tackled. I've never agreed with that play. I don't like that play. Their defense is getting decimated. Their offense, good. I mean, but you ain't gonna be able to stop anybody if you ain't got no good defense. So, I mean,
I was literally just reading that the NFL doesn't want to ban it because they said that teams are trying to argue that it's injury causing, but it's caused 0 injuries ever. So I don't know. The NFL's trying to defend it.
well, it's making money right now. That's why.
Yeah, it is.
The NFL's all about money. That's what the NFL's about.
Of course. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The Philadelphia Eagles are pretty much running back the same squad as last year. Losing both C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Josh Sweat are going to be big holes that need to be filled. But I trust Howie Roseman 100% going into the draft this year. I mean, you talk about a guy who drafted Jalen Carter, who drafted Nolan Smith, who drafted Devontae Smith. I mean, like, the amount of stars that have came out of college courtesy of Howie Roseman. The only bad move he's really made over the last 5 to 6 years of drafting was drafting Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. That was really the only bad move that he made as the GM for the.
Really bad move.
It's a really bad move. It's a move that almost got him fired. But ever since that move, he's been flawless. I mean, every move has been a banger. Jalen Hurts in the second round, that was a steal. So I'm not really too worried about the Philadelphia Eagles going into next year. Competition with the Commanders is most certainly going to be at an all-time high. But outside of that, I mean, this is pretty much the same squad as last year. So as long as they can continue to establish a dominant run with Saquon Barkley and utilize their weapons like A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson, I'm not worried about this team at all. But they definitely need a target defense in the draft.
Do they win another Super Bowl?
I don't see, that's where it's really tough. I believe they do win another Super Bowl, but I don't know if it's next year. I believe they're going to be right back in the competition again next year, but this is a team that can be in the Super Bowl like the Niners for a couple years in a row.
What do you think?
I think they're definitely making it.
To the Super Bowl?
I can see them making it to the Super Bowl.
I do not. I wanted to disagree with you two so badly.
Well, it's close.
I don't think they're making. I think there's going to be other NFC teams.
I could see them losing to Washington. Washington making it too.
I could see them not winning their division to Washington.
That I don't know about because Washington is still so young and inexperienced. Because again, you got to remember, Jaden Daniels did something that no rookie quarterback has ever done in NFL history. Never. Going to an NFC championship. So the expectation level for Washington is already at an all-time high. They may collapse under that. We may be expecting a little too much out of Washington. Philadelphia, we're really not expecting too much. Like, yeah, cool, you guys just won the Super Bowl. You guys beat the Kansas City Chiefs. If you don't make it next year, we can blame it on them losing their defensive players or them not being able to pay C.J. Gardner-Johnson or them losing a couple linemen to retirement. So there's excuses that's going to be made with Philadelphia regardless. Washington, though, they're the ones that have the most pressure right now, which is crazy to say because they weren't even in the Super Bowl. That's just the point I wanted to make.
All right, well, I just want to disagree. I don't think they're going to be in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, I do want to bring up one team that I'm a little upset about. And I feel like I have the same rant every single year this time of year. This is my third offseason covering the NFL on 2 Jagoffs. And this is the third year in a row that I'm talking about this. Why are the Dallas Cowboys not doing anything at the free agent market? Why?
Because Jerry Jones is still the owner.
Jerry Jones is still the owner. It is Jerry's world, and we are all living in it. Listen, I'm going to start off with this one first, gentlemen. I apologize, because I have a lot to say. When we look at the Dallas Cowboys right now, the biggest move that they have made in the offseason was signing running back Javonte Williams to a one-year deal worth $3 million. That's all the Cowboys were willing to cough up. $3 million. Now, don't get me wrong. Javonte Williams is an incredible running back. I loved him and Michael Carter back at North Carolina. They were a great 1-2 punch combo. I hated them when they played Pitt, but boy, oh boy, that was a great Tar Heel squad. And Javonte Williams did great things in Denver as well for the short stint that he had over there. But obviously, they moved on from him since. So it's a great move there. It's better than what they had last year. But the Cowboys are so bad, they couldn't even bring back Rico Dowdle. That's how bad this offseason was for them. They could not even afford Rico Dowdle to bring back. Now, sure, they made a couple of moves. Peyton Turner on a one-year deal. Robert Jones on a one-year deal. They brought in Kier Elam over from the Buffalo Bills. C.J. Goodwin. Kevontae Turpin, who's been a great gadget player for him. But outside of that, what have the Dallas Cowboys really done? What have they done? Are they looking towards the draft? Are they looking to a trade deadline? Are they just looking to rule the same squad they had last year? Look, when you have a quarterback in Dak Prescott who has less playoff wins than Jaden Daniels, who was a rookie last year, and Jalen Hurts, who entered the league 5 years after Dak Prescott did, that's a concern for me. That's a major concern, a major question mark. At this rate, whoever the Giants quarterback next year is might have more playoff wins than Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. There is no success with them right now. There is no winning culture with them right now. They are the biggest disgrace in the National Football League, in my opinion. And until Jerry Jones changes ownership and sells this team, or at least makes some sort of change, the organization is going to continue to go downhill. Washington has gotten better. Philadelphia has gotten better. at the rate they're going, the Giants are eventually going to be better. The Dallas Cowboys, who couldn't even afford to bring back their head coach Mike McCarthy, has yet again done nothing at the free agent during free agent week. They're going to do nothing again during the draft cycle, and they're going to do nothing again on the trade deadline week. Floor is yours, gentlemen.
Go ahead, bud.
All you?
It's the Cowboys. You guys don't want to talk Dallas?
I just find it hilarious.
There's nothing to talk about.
I find it hilarious that you're even still talking about him. I kind of listen. I love you to death, but I kind of phased you out there when you start.
Oh my gosh.
You know why I phased you out? Because you answered your question 2 seconds into your conversation. You said Jerry Jones. We all know until he's not there, that is why the Dallas Cowboys will never succeed. The dummy keeps coming out and saying dumb stuff and doing dumb stuff. He's a dummy. I can't swear. I want to say worst about him.
I'll give you a pass.
No, I'm not going to.
Okay.
But
Dummy, yeah.
He come out and he was the way he handles contracts, the way he talks about his players, the way he talks about his
coaches.
He's just a moron.
You want to know why nothing gets done there? Because Jerry Jones came out and publicly said that there's no voids in their team that need filled in this free agency. That might be one of the dumbest things he's ever said in his life, and he said a lot of dumb things.
He said Dak Prescott was a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
He did.
He said Mike McCartney was not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He said all kind of crazy stuff. That's why I said I wasn't trying to phase you out on a personal level, but listen, Dallas, it's open and shut till Jerry Jones is not the general manager or an owner of that team. They're going to be what they are. Nobody cares about them. They're not America's team. They're America's laughing disgrace is what they are. He's ruining the organization. He is single-handedly ruining Dallas, their history, their beloved history that they have there. He's ruining it.
Okay.
It's time to go, Jerry.
Time to go, Jerry.
Go back to the oil fields, dude.
I do want to quickly at least try and touch on at least every team in this episode. So let's go over to the NFC South real quick and just kind of recap the 4 teams that's a part of that division. There's really not much storylines coming out of any of them, so I figure we can kind of do it all at once. You got the Atlanta Falcons. Some moves that they made was Kadero Hodge on a 1-year deal, Jake Matthews, Leonard Floyd, Devon Diablo, and Liam McCall. The Carolina Panthers bringing back Andy Dalton, Tommy Tremble, Brady Christian, Patrick Jones, J.C. Horn, my man, who is now the highest paid corner in the league. 4-year deal worth $100 million. Shout out to J.C. Horn and Trayvon Moehrig. The Saints, they brought back Jawan Johnson, Chase Young, and signed Justin Reed from the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed Levante David, Chris Godwin, Riley Dixon, and Hassan Reddick. Guys, any opinions on any of these teams in the NFC South going into next year?
J.C. Horn's the only thing that matters. And it's for a team that's going to do nothing anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, that division's terrible.
That's why we're doing it all at
Yeah,
once.
I mean-
That's why we're doing it all at once.
Here, flip a coin. You guys pick who you want to win the division. There you go.
I will say this about 2 teams specifically. One of them being the Buccaneers. Hassan Reddick and Levante David is actually a pretty underrated duo. Both of them lined up against with Kalijah Cansey from Pitt. That's a pretty scary edge rushing combo. Cansey, Reddick, David. That's a 1-2-3 punch combo right there. I'm a little worried about these fellow teams in the NFC South.
Did you see that Godwin went back to Tampa Bay for like $20 million less than he was offered to go to like the Patriots, I think?
3-year deal worth $66 million.
He could have got like 90-something million to go to the Patriots.
He just wanted to retire as a fucking...
Which honestly you can't blame him.
Respect to him for turning down the money.
You play with Mike Evans, you go play with some bum. I'd play with Evans.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're telling me Andy Dalton's the big signing...
Well, no, he's not, but he's the backup to Bryce Young, so I had to add that on there.
Listen, I wouldn't sign him on the Carlington Cougars. Get out of here. He's
crazy.
a bum.
Well, they're going to need somebody. Devontae Dean's graduating, so
He's a
who's going to
bum.
be the quarterback?
Dean would have started all 4 years over him. Get the heck out of here. That dude's a bum. Dalton's a bum.
I do want to actually talk about one team specifically in this division real quick. Can we talk about the Saints for a second? How did you start off last year going 2-0 and putting up 80-plus points and then going on a 6-game losing streak and being one of the worst in the NFL?
Because they 2 bum teams.
Dallas was one of them.
Thank you very
Bum
much.
team. Thank you for proving my
Thank you
point.
very much, because I argued with my nephew Tyler.
Oh,
He kept
God.
saying, they scored 80 points. And I said, Tyler, they played nobody.
He's a Saints fan,
They
by the way.
played
Dang
bum.
it, Tyler.
And then guess what? Reality set in.
Reality did set in.
Reality set in. They're bums.
Delusional Saints fan.
Yes.
I like Tyler too. No, I don't. I'm kidding.
Wow. Well, let's move up to the NFC North real quick. We didn't really touch on any of these teams. I was kind of surprised. So some moves that some of these teams made, starting off with the Chicago Bears. They got Durham Smythe, Jonah Jackson, Joe Tooney, who they acquired in a trade with the Kansas City Chiefs, center Drew Dahlman, defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, and Dayo, I'm going to mess up this name, Adedingbo. I actually got it. The Detroit Lions, they brought in Marcus Davenport, Roy Lopez, Derek Barnes, and DJ Reed. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Banks, Isaiah McDuffie, Nate Hobbs, and Brandon McManus. And, of course, the Minnesota Vikings re-signing Aaron Jones, bringing in Ryan Kelly, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Byron Murphy, Theo Jackson, and Isaiah Rodgers. What's your guys' opinion on some of these moves that were made in the NFC North?
All I'm going to say is Dallas should be the clear-cut winner of this division.
Who?
Detroit.
Detroit, okay. Dallas, I was about to say hell no.
No. Detroit should be the clear-cut winner of this division.
Don't sleep on Chicago.
Thank you.
Did you see what they did with their line to protect it?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up.
My gosh.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Oh my gosh. He took a page out of the Belichick playbook. Protect your quarterback. Good for them. I'm hoping they compete with Detroit because I'm tired of seeing Detroit, to be honest with you.
We just started seeing them.
I know, and I'm tired of it already. I wanted Barry Sanders to have a championship with them. Sorry.
Now you see what the rest of the league thinks about Kansas City.
Yeah, well, hey, hate on haters. But listen, I'm telling you right now, watch out for Chicago.
Yeah, no,
I
Chicago.
don't know if this is the year, but watch out for it.
No, Chicago's going to be a threat. I mean, you got two guards, both via trades. You brought the best center that was available, Drew Dahlman. Not to mention Durham Smith, a tight end who's a great blocker as well. I mean,
just got to figure out the chemistry on that line. They figure out the chemistry. They give him some time.
I'm excited. No, this is a great sign. And Green Bay, I'm a little surprised. They have a pretty big cap space, and they're really not making any moves. I mean, outside of Nate Hobbs, they really haven't done anything. I mean, I'm kind of concerned if you're the Green Bay Packers. You got to get Jordan Love some more help up front.
There's going to be Dallas in round one of the playoffs and call it a year.
Who the Packers?
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe. And what about the Vikings? I mean, the Vikings have made some pretty good moves as well to help out a young J.J. McCarthy who's going to make his season debut next year. Do you guys think McCarthy's going to be okay with this system, or are we a little concerned?
I mean, I'm a little concerned that he got injured before he even played a real game already, but
yeah,
I'm excited to see how he's actually going to play.
They're not going to have the season they had last year.
No, not at all. They'll probably fall down to second or third. I wouldn't be surprised if it's third in the division.
Okay. All right, well, let's move over to this other team. We already talked about all the NFC East teams, but we didn't really mention too much about the Giants. I mean, outside of Darius Slayton...
There's nothing to mention.
Outside Darius Slayton and Javon Holland, there was really no other notable names. I'm not even going to bother going through that list. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here with where the Giants kind of stand right now. They're a rebuilding team.
They have two quarterback potentials, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
Hey, they brought back Tommy DeVito.
They pulled out of the Aaron Rodgers deal. They don't want him anymore.
Well, they still have Russell Wilson. He's flying to New York after Cleveland.
Joe Flacco's a name to watch, too, for the Giants. Joe Flacco's another name that I read.
Joe Flacco's still playing ball. Get out.
All right, well, we talked about the AFC West. Let's talk about the AFC South now. We really didn't touch on this division either. I mean, the Texans, they've made moves like crazy. Justin Watson, Christian Kirk, Braxton Berrios, Derek Barnett, Darrell Taylor, Mario Edwards, Sheldon Rankings, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson are all newest additions of the Houston Texans. For the Jaguars' sake, Nick Mullins, Dynami Brown, Robert Hainsey, Patrick Mararkey, Jordan Lewis, and Eric Murray are all part of the squad now. The Titans went out and grabbed Van Jefferson, Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Zeiders, Sebastian Joseph Bay, Morgan Cox, and Johnny Hecker, who shout out to Johnny Hecker for adding me on LinkedIn, by the way. I truly appreciate it. And then, of course, the Indianapolis Colts, who brought in Khalil Herbert, Ashton Doolin, Danny Pinter, Charvarius Ward, Cameron Bunyan from the Minnesota Vikings, and Daniel Jones, who we're going to get to in a second. I just want to say one thing about Cameron Bunyan real quick. 4-year deal, $60 million contract. My opinion, the best safety that was available in the market this year. And the reason why I love Cameron Bunyan so much, I don't know if either one of you guys watched this movie. You probably did that. White Chicks. You guys remember that movie?
Yes.
Cameron Bunyan brought the White Chicks dance from when they were on the dance floor to Minnesota, and they did it in the back of the end zone and absolutely nailed it. So I've always loved Cameron Bunyan because he always did dances from different movies, and he's always nailed them. And he's one of the best safeties out there. He's always getting pick sixes for some reason. So I just wanted to throw a little shout out his way. But let's talk about Daniel Jones, and then we'll talk about the rest of these teams. Daniel Jones is signing a 1-year deal. It's worth $14 million. He's coming in to be the competition to Anthony Richardson. The Colts have been very open. Head coach Shane Steichen clearly said, we want competition for Richardson.
You know why? Because Richardson's a bum.
Well, he's going up against another one in Daniel Jones. So what's your guys' reaction to the new quarterback competition? And I guess what's your reaction to the rest of these teams to wrap up the South?
I hope that they draft a quarterback and start him over both.
They still got Sam Ellinger, too.
I have one question. Do you think he'll tap out in the competition?
Probably. They'll do an I quit match. Their arm will get sore off throwing it to their wide receivers.
Listen, if you lose your starting job to Daniel Jones, you might just want to quit playing quarterback.
Switch him over to like a running back or something.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. Let's go to your team, because them teams I really care less about. Let's talk about your team real quick.
Okay, the Texans.
Do they win the division?
Oh, that's a good
Or is
question.
it a one-year wonder still for CJ?
The division's so bad that they have a really good chance of winning it. And they made some pretty good moves.
They have. They really have.
The only
You
thing
just
bad is
want
they
me
got
to
rid of
say it.
Tunsil.
Say it. You want me to say it. I'm going to be a fan because of Justin Watson.
I really do want you to say
I'm not.
it.
Well, I feel like a team we're not talking about really, guys, at the Titans. I mean,
I was
the
going to bring him up next.
You
I
were-
wanted to clown him.
Wait a minute. You just said they were god awful with Mason Rudolph, and
No,
now
no,
we're going to say they're a good team?
No, I'm not
That's
saying.
a timeout. We're not going to do. We're not doing that.
No, I want to make
Because
fun of
both
him
of
for a
you,
second.
when I said Mason Rudolph, you guys both jumped on me and said, no, he's playing for the Titans. They're garbage. And now we're going to say they're competition?
I never
No.
said they were
No,
competition.
I want to say that they were probably the worst in this division because they just paid my Dan Moore $80 million with $50 million guaranteed. He's not even worth $50 million in general as a contract.
That's where I was going with this. I was going to say the lineman decisions were very questionable for a team that doesn't even have a quarterback
Dan Moore
yet.
let up 14 sacks and 40 or 51 pressures, something like that, this season. He's terrible. I like him. He's a great guy, but he's a terrible
If you
lineman.
guys don't win your division, you probably should root for another team.
Yeah,
That's how bad that division is.
it is. And the poor Trevor Lawrence, too.
8 wins might win that
Oh,
division.
yeah,
this year.
the Jags are terrible.
Poor Trevor
The
Lawrence.
Jags are awful. They gave up whenever they sent Ingram to the Broncos.
Well, the interesting thing is to see, all jokes aside, is to see if Trevor Lawrence can recover from that hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bat from Aziz.
'Cause, I mean,
Al
he didn't
Shahir.
play the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, does he get gun shy when he goes for a run now? I mean, it was a dirty play.
I hate to say it, but he could become like Tua and start having reoccurring injuries from that,
That's what
too.
I'm saying. It's how he bounces back from that.
Yeah, no, that was definitely scary.
And I went back and watched that. That was a dirty play. Me and you argued about that. That was so dirty.
It was. It was a
It
dirty
was a
play.
dirty play. It was Bush League. It was garbage. It should not happen in the NFL.
I agree.
They're supposed to protect franchise quarterbacks. They chose that guy should not have did what he did.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with you on that. I went back and watched it too. It was a little bit dirtier than what we expected, but that's a different story for a different day. Let's move over to the AFC South. The AFC North for a sec. We were just on the South. We talked about Cleveland. We talked about Pittsburgh. Let's briefly jump on Cincinnati and Baltimore. Baltimore's been relatively quiet. They did bring back Ronnie Staley and Patrick Ricard, but the biggest signing for them, of course, was DeAndre Hopkins on that one-year deal worth $6 million. That's going to help out Lamar Jackson. But the Bengals, they've had a quiet offseason. They've actually had a pretty solid one, if that. Samonje P. Ryan, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Tanner Hudson, Cody Ford, Joseph Asai, B.J. Hill, T.J. Slayton, Oren Burks, Marco Wilson, former Cardinal, by the way, and Cal Adamas. All is a part of the Bengals.
Yeah, there's a good chance Trey Hendrickson doesn't last the rest of the season. I think he's out of there.
I think so, too. He requested the
And T.
trade.
Higgins, they can let franchise tag him and force him to stay so much longer. They have him in handcuffs over there.
They do.
He would have been gone if they didn't tag him.
Dad, any reaction to either the Bengals or Ravens? These are two teams right here that honestly are going to be probably top of the AFC next year.
If the Bengals don't get a defense, they're done.
They have got a great defense now.
Yeah, until they lose Hendrickson.
When they lose Hendrickson, thank you. That's where I was going.
Hendricks, yeah.
When they lose him, they're done. They're not going to have an edge rusher, and it's going to be too late in the season to get anybody, blah, blah, blah. Okay, congratulations. You signed D-Hop. Where's that going to get you? You're not going to utilize him.
Yeah.
You're not going to utilize him, so what's it matter? It's like when they signed my man last year. I don't want to get into that again. Did they use him? Derrick Henry? King Henry?
No.
Didn't use him. So congrats. Sign all the big name players you want to sign.
Of course. All right, well, I want to move over to our last division now to wrap up today's episode. That, of course, is the AFC East. I know we've been a little bit all over the place this episode, but I wanted to talk about the most talked about players in the league. And we already covered the Buffalo Bills, so we won't really touch much on them. So let's go over to the other three teams, the Jets, the the Jets, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. Starting off with the New York Jets. We talked about Justin Fields signing the 2-year deal worth $40 million, but they also brought in Okafor, Josh Myers, Jamian Sherwood, Brandon Stevens, Andre Sisco, and Isaiah Oliver. Guys, is this the year the Jets finally make the push for the playoffs, or is this just going to be the same old sorry New York Jets team that we've seen?
Give me 3 to 5 wins. I'm not falling for that trap again. I'm not saying that a sleeper team. Hell no. 3 to 5.
3 to 5? Dad, what's your thought on the Jets, your childhood team?
6 or 7 victories.
You give him more credit than me.
I'm actually in agreement with Dad here. I'm not going to lie to you. I cannot bet on the New York Jets. If you don't have a quarterback named Joe Namath, I'm not betting on the New York Jets. That's just not going to happen. The Jets have been complete poverty for years. I'm happy for Justin Fields. I'm glad I get to see him start somewhere. He's in a pretty solid QB room with Jordan Travis and Tyrod Taylor, but outside of that, there's really not much else here for it. There is a solid connection that not too many people are talking about. Are we forgetting that Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson are former Ohio State teammates? That's going to be a nice connection there, being able to see that rekindle. I'm excited to see the Fields and Wilson connection because once upon a time, they were in the semifinals in the college football championship playoffs. So that could be a solid duo in New York. But yeah, no, with Buffalo being in the same division and Miami, I don't see it happening.
You think Miami's going to be good?
Well, we're going to get to them here right now, actually. Let's talk about the Dolphins.
Yes.
We got quarterback Zach Wilson, who's signing with the Miami Dolphins. He'll be backing up Tua Tagovailoa. They also bringing in Dwayne Eskridge, Nick Westbrook Ikine, Jackson Carman, Larry Borum, James Daniels, Terrell Dodson, Elijah Campbell, and Ashton Davis. No, Dad, I don't believe the Miami Dolphins are going to be a good football team, but I will say this. Tua Tagovailoa is on the hot seat.
I'm surprised Waddle didn't want to trade.
Really?
Very surprised. I wouldn't be surprised you see him traded by the beginning of the season. I don't know.
You did say Waddle or Hill would be gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they got to get sick of not winning. I mean, when they brought in Tua, they were predicted to win the division, go to an AFC championship. They signed Hill. Those are all the missing pieces they thought they needed. Waddle's just got to be like, when are we going to damn win? You know what I mean? Like, I got to get on a team that's got a better chance to win the Super Bowl.
Of course.
I mean, he ain't got much left in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if I see Waddle go. I mean, that's just my thing. I don't think that they're going to win the division either. I see them starting out on fire like it did last year. Somebody's going to get hurt, and unfortunately, they're going to be in the same position they were at the end of the season.
Lucas?
Yeah, they're going to struggle. I mean, honestly, I could see even Hill wanting to leave first because, I mean, he just got that I need to win mentality, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
A little egotistical, in my opinion, too. But honestly, Tua's going to get hurt again. I'm going to say he's going to get hurt at least probably 3 times. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
The fact that he hasn't retired already is kind of interesting, in my opinion. And the fact that your backup is Zach Wilson is a very sad fact.
It is. I mean,
so if Tua does go down, which I'm predicting he's going to, they're probably losing whenever he's not in there.
I agree. I 100% agree with you on that. We have one last team to talk about, and that's going to do it for today's episode. And I saved it for last on purpose. Let's talk about the New England Patriots for a second. This is a team that had a bit of a questionable start last year. Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback. Then they transitioned into Drake May, who was the number 3 overall pick. He is the guy that is that New England is fully behind. Mike Vrabel is the brand new head coach after getting rid of Gerard Mayo, who only lasted a season. Some other moves that they have made in the offseason, of course, is bringing in quarterback Joshua Dobbs, wide receiver Matt Collins, tight end Austin Cooper, offensive tackle Morgan Moses, edge Harold Landry, defensive lineman Milton Williams, linebacker Robert Spillane, and cornerback Carl Davis, on a 3-year deal worth $60 million. I'm not going to lie to you. This is actually the best offseason the Patriots has had post Bill Belichick. I'm very excited to see the way this team plays because they went out there and got a solid backup to be behind Drake May and the passer, Josh Dobbs. They got another weapon in Matt Collins coming over from Buffalo, who's actually a pretty solid player who we've seen. Don't get me wrong, he's a bit of a weirdo by always being barefoot in the middle of the practice facilities, but still a great talent, still a great guy to pair with a young quarterback. Austin Hooper was a great veteran tight end who played well, had a great connection with Drake May. He's able to come back. Morgan Moses, a tackle to be able to protect Drake May. The defense has gotten better. They went and grabbed some interesting players. Carlton Davis and Robert Spillane, 2 players, have honestly been written off. Spillane played for the Steelers once upon a time, then, of course, was a part of the Las Vegas Raiders.
I actually really like Spillane.
Spillane's pretty nice. Hey, the Spillane train is locked and loaded.
I was going to say I would never got rid of him. I liked him as a player.
But yeah, this is a unique team, and not to mention the young squad that they already have with them. I mean, I'm excited to see the way this pans out. I'm excited to see the way it plays, but They most certainly need to draft a running back. They most certainly need to draft another corner. And I feel like that they might be on that path to start stringing together some wins. Now, is this a playoff contending team? Absolutely not. But I'm very happy with the way their offseason's going so far. Shout out to New England.
I didn't like the dirty deal they did with Mayo. Gerard Mayo. If you wanted Vrabel the whole time, why'd you even offer the guy the job? I mean, I don't know. They did him dirty. One season, he got dealt a pile of crap and tried to make the best of it. I don't know. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
They've made some moves. I mean, I think they're like 2 or 3 years away from being back into a playoff contending team.
Of course. Lucas, any final thoughts on the Patriots before we wrap things up today?
I'm excited to see how Drake May plays this season.
Yes, Drake May. I'm excited. Shout out to Drake May. Ladies and gentlemen, that was about an hour and a half of us going through and covering all of the NFL news that took place over the last week or so here in the NFL. Of course, this episode was recorded on Wednesday evening. It's going to be uploaded ASAP on Thursday morning. We don't want to mess up the uploading gap. So if there is a big signing or something that happens, I do apologize. We will immediately cover it next week when we resume to Jagoffs, or the week after. I'm going to
Stop sending me messages about Justin Watson, too. I had to publicly say that. Stop sending me the messages.
I sent one.
Lucas quit harassing my dad. But, ladies and
You
gentlemen...
sent it, too. It was for you, too.
Yeah, and all you said was, damn it. That's all you responded with.
Yeah, because now I got to look at him and say, yeah, I got to root for the Texans for something.
Well, that's your fault. That's your fault, too, for being a Texans fan. But...
Ain't worth...
Well, I mean, Lucas just said there's breaking news. The Ravens released safety Marcus Williams. I really don't see any value in that. So, shout out to the Ravens, I guess. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. And shout out to, I want to give a shout out to my podcasting professor real quick, Angelo. This is actually part of a podcasting assignment. I'm turning in this episode. The episode was supposed to be 30 to 60 minutes. We got an hour 36, so hopefully this doesn't affect my grade. But, Angelo, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate the support.
Angelo, hopefully you like me going at these guys.
Lucas, do you have anything to say to Angelo?
I don't know how you deal with this kid.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah.
Anytime.
Let me get him an A, but we know how he deals with them, right?
Oh, man. But, yeah, no, shout out to Angelo for listening. Shout out to everyone else who's listening as well. More content to come on the social media platforms. Make sure you stay tuned. Go check out the Instagram, the TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter for weekly updates and bonus content. That's all that's going to do it for us here on 2 Jagoffs. Make sure you can stay tuned for this Sunday for a very special interview with a very special Pitt alumni. Dad, Lucas, any final words for the Jagoff Mafia?
It's going to be a fun season.
It's going to be a fun season. Dad, any final words?
I'm ready to start talking some baseball.
Oh, baseball time.
Baseball's coming. Let's talk baseball soon.
We have a very special baseball guest coming on the podcast the next couple weeks as well, so we'll just have to wait and see. Just have to wait and see. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again so much for tuning in. Until next time, here on 2 Jagoffs, we will see you in the next one.
Peace.